The feminist movement, they're at the core. They're at the core of all this politically correct horseshit that drives us nuts. They're at the core of it. I think society's been feminized.
Yeah.
Guys, and again, I'm generalizing here, but for the most part.
Even the loosest generalization will just cause.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they want, though. They want us to be walking around qualifying every statement. I don't mean everybody.
No, exactly, which I usually don't.
Yeah.
That's one thing I do in my act. I don't try to balance it out.
Yeah.
I'll pile on, but sensitivity. PC is based in sensitivity.
Yeah.
And that's not in our DNA. Most guys, and they have their never-ending list of grievances. They can't leave it alone. I don't watch movies anymore. I stopped about 20 years ago because I was aware of it. Something made me aware of it. I can't suspend my disbelief and watch Angelina Jolie beat up 10 Marines. I just can't fucking do it. I really can't.
Yeah.
And it's been feminized, and this business draws a lot of people who were bullied and shit. Even back in the 80s when I would watch films, I go, and I would say this is way before I was in comedy.
Yeah.
I go, why is the bad kid at the high school always the white kid with a leather jacket, the jock?
Yeah.
And it's still to this day. This is 30 years later.
Yeah. Teen Wolf, Back to the Future, everything.
Yeah. I know this, it's just, there's a lot more women comics and whatever, but that's where the PC comes from. It comes from the left. Nobody ever says that. The censorship. I know people have bought into it now.
Yeah.
Politicians on both sides.
Yeah.
And guys have I guess it's guys' fault that we let it get this far.
Yeah. Is it weird how it flipped though? Like, because you could look at, say, the '90s when the right was screaming about video game violence and all this stuff, and it's like, no, it doesn't cause real violence. If anything, it actually diffuses. So this is where it's like, to me, the right doesn't get a pass. The right is way better now in terms of political correctness and free speech and all that. But yeah, the left has become. Well, yeah,
it's one thing to yell about video game violence, which may or may not be true, whatever. I never bought into that. I watched the Three Stooges from age 6 to 40. I never hit my brother in the head with a crowbar, poke my mother in the eyes.
Yeah.
But, they were wrong on some stuff, but not to the degree that the left's going with changing the language. Political correctness, the definition is, changing people's behavior through language. Mm-hmm. And, with today, it's going the he and the she. You want to be called they and the.
I'm sorry that I didn't ask about your pronouns before we started.
Yes, I'd like to be. I don't even know what they are. Call me them.
It.
That's what most people call me.
So
it was kind of funny.
Do you remember? Do you remember when it started seeping into the clubs?
There's no one specific moment, I've been doing this 31 years or whatever, so I finally, after all this time, people come out to see me. They know what's coming, But I do remember early in my career, I was at Clark University. I was doing a college. And Clark University, I think it's Clark in Massachusetts. It's even liberal for a Massachusetts school.
That's liberal.
Yeah, and I did some joke about a Middle Eastern guy at a gas station. He couldn't find my oil. He was trying to change. I said I had the one Middle Eastern guy that couldn't find oil, whatever. And some kid in the front row at college, he's got short. He goes, Jesus, that was what are you going to do, abortion jokes next? So I just rattled off like 8 abortion jokes off the top of my head, and the whole place was booing.
Yeah.
And it's the only time I got off stage a couple minutes early.
Really?
Yeah. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you say it with enough conviction, I don't know. I get a thrill out of it. These are good and bad times, but I've always, even after my first open mic, about 6 months in my open mic experience, a comic said to me, "You're politically incorrect. That's where it's headed." And even I said to him, I go, "It's going to get a lot worse." This was like an 88 or 89.
Yeah.
And it did get a lot worse.
Do you think it can get much worse than
No.
it's gotten? I mean, now you see articles in BuzzFeed every day about stand-up either needs to be not funny now. We should enter, did you see that article a couple weeks ago?
I did see.
We should enter a phase where stand-up shouldn't be funny so that we can address
Imagine we're having
the
that conversation?
Yeah.
We're even having that conversation. Stand-up, that's the antithesis of what stand-up's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say what people won't say, and that's in the DNA of a comic. I mean, in high school, if I saw an opening in class for a joke, I would, let it fly. And I can't believe it's to this point, but I don't know where else it can go.
It can go in the direction that, they'll force clubs to stop booking people and they'll kick the rest of us off platforms.
Well, then a black market will pop up like anything else when you prohibit something, right?
Yeah.
And then it really get fun. Then we have a civil war.
Then we go right in,
Can we have the goddamn war? I'm on the side with all the guns.
You can go right there.
I'm on the side with all the guns, okay? Let's get it on. I'm tired of it, man. But at least, like I said, by now, at least I market myself and people know, thanks to my podcast and after 30 years of stand-up, I said stuff on Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
I called, we showed a commercial, and I said, they're cultural Marxists, the people that write this shit. And everybody's like, what's he talking about? And I got, pigeonholed that day.
Right. That's got to be at least 10 years ago, so that's before.
At least 10 years ago. I was reading a lot of Pat Buchanan, who I still love. Okay.
What are you... So you were in the Tough Crowd crew.
Yes.
Colin Quinn, obviously, and that whole crew. That show, it was only on for a couple of years, actually, but it probably would never, well, not probably, it would never make it on Comedy Central now.
Oh, God, no. They actually said to Colin, who's a genius. Colin grew up in, do you know
Yeah,
Colin?
of course, yeah.
I mean, he's the sweetest guy, as bright a guy as you'll ever meet. He grew up in Brooklyn. Went to high school, black kids, Puerto Ricans, Dominican. He knows that world.
Yeah.
And they actually said to him after a few episodes of Tough Crowd, after a couple seasons, they said, why don't you leave the race stuff to Chappelle? Can you imagine saying that to Colin?
That's actually racist. I mean, that...
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. People love that show because me and Patrice would unload on each other. And people love me for it. I was on a plane in Atlanta right after me and Patrice had a good toe-to-toe on the show. And I was at a plane in Atlanta, and I see this black guy looking at me with his son.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a little nervous, and they come up to me, and they go, we love you, man, on Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
And it was like, people, once you meet people face to face,
Is that what sort of, because you clearly have a good disposition, especially for a comic. Is that partly what it is? Like, I see this now after being on tour for the last year. If I go online, it's just like an endless hate fest of lunacy. Everyone's trying to destroy each other.
Yeah.
And then every night when I'm touring and I do meet and greets after the show and I meet all of these people and nobody cares what sex they are or sexuality or color, and everyone's great. So I feel like I live in these alternate worlds where the real world happens to be pretty damn good.
It is. And it's not just social media, just the mainstream media.
Yeah.
I'll be laying there watching TV, and all of a sudden a PSA will come on for bullying. Jesus Christ, leave it alone for 5. I can't watch a Red Sox game. I'm from Boston. New England Sports Network is the most PC. I love my Red Sox. I have trouble. There's always we got 12 women from the Maine Women's Shelter here. There's kids with cancer. It's like, Jesus, I'm watching this to get away from that.
Yeah. Well, look what happened to ESPN. I mean, they've destroyed themselves in the name of being woke.
And they didn't give a shit, did they? Do they have that much money? Or that's Disney. Nothing is more PC than Disney.
Yeah.
They're at the core of it, too.
So, wait, you mentioned, we'll get there, but I don't want to jump over Patrice, because you've watched a couple of your core guys died in the midst of this, which so Greg Giraldo, who was like on his way to becoming star of stars. I used to live like 2 or 3 blocks away from him on the Upper West, and I remember seeing him. I would see him all the time. He'd have his 2 kids, and he'd be walking them to school or whatever. And I used to see him at Equinox at the gym, and he was fit, and he seemed like he was like. I used to look at him and be like, we didn't really, he kind of knew I was a comic, but we didn't know each other. But I would look at him and I'd be like, oh, you're a comic who like became a human. You actually became like a real person too. And I sort of wanted to emulate that in a way. And I remember I saw him at the gym one day, and he's pumping, blah, blah, blah. He was dead 2 days later. And it really threw me for a loop, even though I didn't know the guy that well. So, and you've had a couple of guys in your crew that just...
Yeah, Patrice and Greg, even now when I hear them on the radio, I'll be listening to Satellite, and I'm like, I got a good line for Greg. Yeah. And I never really got over the. Geraldo just shocked me when that happened. He seemed too smart. I mean, he's a Harvard guy, law guy. But that's what I loved about him. He lent some credibility to stand up. You know what I mean? A very bright kid, and always, he was always jovial, and you know, and he would pick my brain. He would watch me. I was a little ahead of him. Yeah. And he would be asking all the right questions, you know, about stand up and he was on his way, you know, like you said.